Rick, what position does Charlie play? I don't know. Rick is muted. So he's not going to be able to tell us what position Charlie plays. There
Ah,
you
There he is.
there we go. Left field, but right now he's just doing designated hitter.
Oh, okay.
So, so anyway, I figured out how to mute this, so I can do
All right,
that
good.
now.
Okay.
So I'm listening. I'm just going to be muted so you don't hear baseball game noises.
We'll just be jealous that
Okay.
aluminum bat, ping.
Okay, so Rick, I don't see. Oh, Rick. Okay, so we have enough. But I said five after, so we have what, a minute? We'll go on and wait 1 minute to five after, and we'll get started. Does everyone have a copy of the agenda?
Yep.
I do not, Erica. I do not.
Erica, okay, it's in. Oh, can you shoot her a copy of that,
I'm
Joni?
on it. Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Okay. Oh, and Joe is here also. Okay. Joe, do you have a copy? Joe
I
Smith.
had your email, Ms. Willis, manager at
Fieldsapartments.com.
Okay, Jance, Nancy, Van. Okay. Is his name Isaac, the one who replaced Claire?
Isaac has withdrawn from the board. Law school's just getting too hot and heavy for him. He can't balance it all in his schedule. He has
Okay.
withdrawn.
Okay, so let's call the meeting to order. It is 5:05, and based on that, we're going to need someone to take minutes. Anyone want to volunteer?
Well, you
Zoom
can-
can be
Does
used
it,
to
yeah.
create a transcript, and Jennifer's going to enable that, I believe.
Oh, great. Okay, very good. Okay, so Erica, did you get a copy of the agenda?
I did. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay, so roll call, please. I'll do that since, okay, Carolyn Harvey, and I'm just going by the list on the agenda. Carolyn Harvey present, Randy Oxler,
Present.
Kathy Field.
Present.
I'm sorry, Kathy Field Hughes.
No, it's Field.
Oh,
Hughes,
okay.
yeah, Hughes was my husband's name.
Okay,
So,
it's on the agenda. Okay, I
Yeah.
always knew Field. Okay,
thank you.
Joe Smith,
Present.
Debbie Dunn,
Present.
Jance, absent, Jance Whitman. Rick Pearson, we know you're present, Rick.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Nancy Maxwell.
If I can answer.
Yeah,
You're
you
here.
did
Okay,
good.
we see you.
Okay, yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, and Van Eichner.
I just told him to check his email.
Okay, so he'll be joining us later. And Erica Willis.
Present.
Okay.
I stick to both of them.
What?
All three of us was in a thing together, but she there.
Oh, okay. Okay. We have a quorum present. Approval of the agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the agenda? Any additions or subtractions or anything to be added to the agenda? Okay, we'll move on. Any minutes for approval?
I have the long form narrated transcript from the last meeting, and I haven't had a chance to condense it into a minute. So I do not have minutes from the January or February meeting.
Okay, so we'll put that on the agenda for approval at the April meeting. And do you think we'll have this meeting also, the minutes from this meeting also?
I'm hoping that will work well.
Okay, and we'll try to keep this one short so you won't have so much to edit. Okay, but not so short that we don't get business taken care of. Okay, citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens who are on who may want to comment? Joni, can you tell if it's anyone other than just I'm not Joni. I'm so sorry. Jennifer.
No, it does not look like it at this time.
Okay, very good. And any communications? No? Okay, next, state's attorney's report. Joe, you're on.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is a really good turnout. I'm glad that we were able to get everybody together on the same Zoom. And I think that I want to thank the Carbondale Library also for taking this on and being a part of this. And I think that it's only going to grow from here now that we've partnered and that we have this platform available for the public. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to the for the Carbondale Library for joining with us in this. We've had a very busy last couple of months. I just want to let everybody know about the general things that I report. Our jail population in Jackson County as of today was 90. This time last year was 164. Our jail population remains pretty steady since the Pretrial Fairness Act has went into effect on September 18th of 2023. Those numbers took about 3 months to go down to what they are now, and they've held steady ever since. Many of the individuals are all in jail on violent crimes. There are a few transitional ones on some lesser offenses. So our jail population is good right now and steady. I don't know if I'd say good or bad, just it's steady. Now, just to let you know and to compare it, Williamson County, a county that has, I would say right now, almost 20,000 more individuals. I think the last time we looked, their jail population is about 63, I think, as of today. So they have far less individuals in their jail right now than we do for a high population. They don't have as many violent crimes. It looks like many of theirs are aggravated batteries or thefts and meth possession. So that's the information about the jail. As far as meetings that we went to, the same meetings were held and were attended by our state's attorney's office and different assistant state's attorneys. Our sheriff's meeting, on Wednesdays, that continues so that we can be in line with the sheriff's office every Wednesday morning. Meetings with the Carbondale Police Department are routine again. We've had a safety panel meeting, which we discussed juveniles with the superintendent of schools and a number of different social service workers. We attended that as well. I think that I know another assistant state's attorney attended a meeting that has to do with our mental health issues in the county again. And then, of course, our drug court continues. Right now, we have 12 in our drug court. And our drug court meets just about every Thursday afternoon. So that's steady. I don't know if I reported this on the last Zoom. I don't recall, but I think I did. We had our first drug court graduation, I think in January of 2024. And then we are expected to have a few more later this year. And I definitely will let you know ahead of time so that you can see that. It's a very neat thing to see somebody go through that process and then come out on the other end in what we think will be a very productive member of our community after going through the trials and tribulations that they've gone through. A couple things that are new. We had joined with Carbondale and the library to get a grant for the National Crime Victims Week. That is on the week of the 22nd of April. There'll be a number of activities, conferences, meetings, and things, I believe, being held on the SIU campus, the city of Carbondale. And Carolyn, you might know about this too, and be involved in this. But that information, as far as Diana from City of Carbondale, that information would be available on the city website, I think, soon. And there'll be more information coming out. Our office's involvement will be mainly through our Victims Advocate Office. There were a few awards that Diana wanted to give out for their outstanding service to victims in the Southern Illinois region. I believe that we've made nominations for those individuals. And so we'll have an award ceremony, and I hope that everybody can attend on that week. But we have our office lending a hand, setting up and working the door. There'll be tables available, and it's really a way to recognize victims. I believe that we'll also be connecting some of the victims from cases in my office to this event so that they can be there and share their experiences. So it'll be a good conference. Is appreciate Carbondale's work on this and trying to get this together, but there's still a lot of work to do on that. The only other thing, and I'd rather open it up and have questions if anybody has questions, is that I did start I have two things left. I just briefly want to cover the program at the Irma Hayes Center, and then I also want to cover the theft prevention task force. So as many of you know, we started a Ready to Play program a little bit ago. We kind of purchased the drums and some other pianos and things like that and instruments. Erica Willis, who's now joining the Citizens Advisory Board, was a big part of that as well. Carolyn has been there since the beginning. I'm happy to announce that yesterday I found a drumline teacher who was in the Marine Corps drum line and drum corps. He is retired and he is willing to teach. Joni also gave me a name of an individual that she knows. But I know this gentleman that I just met is very interested in teaching. I contacted Bob Wills at the Irma Hayes Center. He's going to be providing me a list of 6 individuals, children between the ages of 10 and 14. And once we get that list of kids and their parents' contact information, we'll be setting up the first time where these kids will be putting the drums together and taking the first lesson. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's taken a while to get it together, but I'm not going to give up on that. Some of the best programs take a little bit to take off, but I feel like once we get it going and we get the Citizens Advisory Board behind it, it'll just take off and go from there. So I'm very excited about that. And I'd like to communicate with a few of you once we get that time set to see what the next steps are for that. I would like to help. And then the Theft Prevention Task Force. I haven't had a major trial since I think the beginning of the year. I think we had 2 this year. Since then, we know that we're doing well in Carbondale when I'm getting a lot of complaints on some of the smaller offenses, misdemeanors, and thefts. So I want to cover a couple things as it comes to this Theft Prevention Task Force. First, with violent crime, we had a shooting about 3 weeks ago, and that was on the northeast side near the Irma Hayes Center in the daylight at 3 p.m. The individuals were juveniles that we identified as 2 shooters that were both juveniles, young. And the individuals that were with them, the other 3 or 4, those individuals were also juveniles. The 2 that were struck while they were driving, they were they were adult teens. Before that shooting, we hadn't had one since the end of September or the first week of October, I believe, if my memory serves me right. That would be one of the longest periods of time without a shooting that my office was made aware of. And so I think we're doing well by getting community organizations involved. But as we move forward, we're starting to see a new young batch of kids kind of take the place of some of the ones that have been taken out of the equation, either by incarceration or other diversion programs. So we really have to think about moving forward and taking care of this young group of individuals, 15, 16, 17 years old, that have not graduated high school. Only 2 of the individuals that were involved in this were enrolled in school at the time, and so truancy is a problem, as it always has been. I don't have to tell you that, but I just wanted to inform you about the situation there. We're starting to see the narrative on social media change a little bit. Somebody said, it's just like Carbondale, and I can see on some of the feeds they're saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I feel pretty safe here. I think we control the narrative, but people have to understand that it's not this little Chicago thing. It's a very solvable problem. And I think the police department and the community organizations are doing a good job, including Carbondale United and a few others working with police. So that brings me to the theft task force. We've had our complaints in our office over the last few months have not been about shootings and violent crimes. They've been about theft. I've had officers come into my office and several different occasions and make meetings with me about what I can do with the so-called catch and release with theft. Landlords very upset about criminal trespass to their properties, what they would call squatting, damage to property, the theft of some of the items on their properties. Retailers worried about not being able to do anything when people walk in and walk out with merchandise. The Theft Prevention Task Force is simply meant, and we've had two meetings so far on Zoom, that has been meant specifically to allow retailers, business owners, landlords to specifically come on and talk about, instances or concerns that they have. Recently, the owner of Pinch Penny Liquors was a victim of theft. I mean, it happens, quite a bit in the retail industry. But he was very concerned. That individual had racked up 4 felonies in 3 weeks, all theft. And in 2 of the incidents, there was a resisting charge where police had to actually wrestle him and get him into custody. And that, of course, is dangerous not only for the suspect but also for our police. So 4 felonies in 3 weeks. There are underlying reasons for the crime. And I'm going to maintain that we have to treat those underlying issues. This gentleman did not look like he was himself on any of these instances. We were able to detain him, even though theft is not a detainable offense, because he had committed those offenses while he was out on pretrial release. So for the first time in Jackson County, I filed a petition for revocation of his pretrial release. We had a hearing, the judge granted it, and he was detained in our county jail. It's sad that we have to do it for theft, but at the same time, we have to stand up for our business owners to make sure they know that we're going to do something, and then let the defendants know that we're going to do something. But most importantly and lastly, we have to hold them to get them resources. If they come in and then leave in a day, I can't get them the help they need, whether it be drug evaluations, drug counseling, rehab, anything, you name it. I can't get them to those things if they're released the next day. And so the ability to detain is very important. And I want that message to get out to the community through all the avenues that you all have, that if there is a problem with an individual and we are continuing to see them out and they're continuing to break the law, contact our office or one of the community organizations, get the name, and let's start talking about this individual, how we can get them help, how we can get them detained, and how we can deal with the problem. We had all this push for social services instead of police presence, but we're not using that right now. And so the police have been frustrated with those types of cases. The community is getting frustrated with it. And I just don't want anybody pointing fingers that the judge is the one letting them out, or I'm the one, or the police are the ones not doing anything. We have to stay kind of united and let them know that this is a problem that we're all working on. So that's what I have right now. Our staffing is strong. Our office is doing well as far as productivity, and we're running out of space, but that's a whole nother argument for a later date. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Joe?
I have a question about the ready to play, which is so you've got drums and some kids lined up to learn to play the drums. Are there and I know about Ruth and I guess that's piano. Is there anything else that should I? Joni asked me to contact some people about drums, and I've been in Poland, so I haven't done that. But should I recruit other people to teach other instruments? What's the situation with this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Randy, the idea behind this was not just, to get one teacher. The idea, we have a website. The idea was to get to work on the software so that we had a number of instructors that are committed to certain hours, And all we have to do is say, hey, your kid's interested in guitar. Let's get on the website and see who's available this week for guitar. So my idea was to continuously have this long list of instructors who commit a half hour or an hour or 2 hours a week. Together, you know, if we had 10 instructors that had a time where they could teach, even, you know, each month, we would cover a lot of hours per month, you know, per week and per month. That's the idea. So we will take, you know, if we find an instructor that wants to teach trumpet or guitar, we'll go buy a trumpet or a guitar immediately. I know we have three guitars, but we want to get as many instructors in our Rolodex. I like to use that term now. I'm starting to make it cool again. In our Rolodex as we can.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in other words, I should call my musician friends and tell them about this. What's the website? Can you put it in the chat?
Yeah, it's actually readytoplay.com. Really easy.
Oh wow, that is easy. Okay.
And the posters and the flyers, they all have the QR code that will take you straight to the website. We just have to, you know, I would like to. One of the things that we could do is get an IT person that you know to work on that the scheduling part of that website and notifications, making sure that we're getting emails when people sign up. But there is a code that instructors can log. We have that available. I don't know what it is in front of me, but when we find an instructor, the idea is that they have a way to log in and the student has a way to log in. And the website is supposed to connect the student with the teacher. And that's what we want to do. We want to try to automate as much as we can and have teachers basically on standby.
Readytoplay.com does not take me. There's it .net or something.
Let me look and see.
Org, maybe org.
Use the number 2.
I did that, and that is for sale. It costs $4,000.
Well, I don't have that, Randy. So,
well, no. My point is that there is no website. Using the number 2. I'm trying readytoplay.org. No,
it's digit 2.
It's the number 2. Well, maybe net because it ain't here.
Okay, Joe will find it, and maybe Joni can just send it out to everybody in the email.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I hope it didn't lapse or go down or something, but we should have it. It'll be somewhere. Okay.
Okay.
We'll find it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Rick had his hand up.
Who does?
Rick had his hand up.
I have my hand up. Joe, a lot of your talk on the theft prevention task force seemed to focus around retail and landlords, but you've got farmers all over the county that are complaining about fuel theft. And we're not just talking fuel theft at the farm tanks. I mean, the next couple months, you're going to have tractors and equipment all over the county in fields. And it's something that, you know, Joni asked me to ask around and just see what's going on. That's the biggest thing that, like, 4 farmers I talked to all said was fuel theft. I've talked to a couple contractors that I'm friends with. You know, they talk about material theft, fuel theft, equipment theft, tool theft. You know, that goes on. So I don't know if that's something you're looking at in your theft prevention task force or not.
Yeah. I want to pause on that real quick. It is ready to the number 2 play jacksoncounty.com.
Oh.
Okay. So throw Jackson County spelled out in there. And Rick, on the property owner thing, the idea is for anybody who's experienced theft, and I didn't add property owners in there. I guess by landlords, I meant, you know, landlords and property owners, anybody who's experienced theft. I think what we need to do next is get the word out about this prevention task force. Right now, I have lists given to me by all of the law enforcement about the usual suspects, and we're going down that list. Because if we talk about theft, you usually can get them down to a list of 30 or 40 people in the county that are repeat offenders. And when we do that, we see a pretty big, you know, a shift in crime when we can get them tied up for a little bit. So we need to make sure that we're, once we make that report, they're able to call the state's attorney's office and say, this is what happened. I want to follow up on it. So people have to be aware that they can follow up, not just with the police department, but with the state's attorney's office. And then second, we're going to be getting we've already put a position to hire out for restitution clerk. And what that person is going to do, that admin, I can't believe we didn't have it before, but they're going to be working with the individuals, retailers, property owners, landlords. Once there's been that theft, we're going to try to track that case for them. We only do that through the victim advocate's office for violent offenses. We've never done that. We've tried to do that for businesses and for property owners, but it's just there's too many of them for our office to handle like that. But when we get this new position filled, they will specifically be dealing with, like you said, the farmer who's lost fuel. I had a tractor actually stolen not too long ago. Tools out of the back of a construction worker. That's been a big thing. Those trailers have been absolutely targeted by people in our community. Catalytic converters, they continue to be a problem. I've worked with the auto dealers on those, but we're trying to set up a system where we can track this all the way through in an attempt to get some kind of restitution.
Okay. Debbie has her
All right,
hand up.
and I think that's the. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go on.
I think the big thing, Joe, is just letting people know about it. One of the farmers I talked to, he said there's such a committee as the advisory board, and he was asking about it, and I was telling him kind of a brief thing to it, and I said I'm just kind of polling what's going on out there.
I'm gonna suggest that we get kind of like a 2x7 kind of like literature that's easy to hand out, almost like a business card, but a little bit longer, that has like the QR code, the website, the times, where you can find it, the number to my office. We're going to dedicate a line just to the theft to restitution, our restitution clerk. I think if we get that out in the community, it'll be a big deal. And the reason why I'm meeting with all of you is so that you can tell people that I'm trying to concentrate on theft right now. I can do 9 murder trials, and people are like, okay, great job. But then I'm getting all the calls about the stolen lawnmower, out the backyard. So I got to make sure that our office is taking care of everybody and not just the violent crimes. If we can get that, I'll try to get that printed and get it out so that we can direct people to our website and direct them to our restitution clerk.
I think that'd be a great idea, and I would definitely hand a lot of those out.
I appreciate the input, Rick. That's a big deal, and that is exactly why we're meeting right now.
And did you say that will have a QR code on it?
Yeah, I'll work on with our office to try to get that produced. We'll get a printer to get that done. I don't think it'll be too hard because we do have some literature from now and then that we make, so we should be able to get that done.
Okay. If you have other questions, Rick?
Not till later on a different topic.
Okay, very good. Debbie has her hand up.
Okay. Yeah, with the solar eclipse coming up, it's going to be really, really busy everywhere, I'm sure. Joe, as far as somebody wanted to know if they could do fly whatchamacallit over the Macanda during the eclipse. And other than FFA regulations, is there anything locally, Jackson County ordinances as far as flying drones in Jackson County? You know, or if you don't know, who would I talk to? If Joni thinks this is different because she deals with a lot of ordinances, she can let me know. But there is no ordinance. I don't believe any ordinance for drones in the county. However, there is a substantial ordinance, or I'm sorry, a statute under state law that prohibits, puts serious restrictions on drone flight. And it restricts law enforcement and how they can use it. It restricts the size, the altitude, and the and other things about drones. Additionally, there are there's legislation that is being passed to even further that restriction right now. So
Okay.
it might
So
be a
not
good
only
idea.
FFA, so I should check out the state also then. Any
Yeah,
state
definitely.
regulations.
There definitely is. I
Right.
know there's restrictions for law enforcement and private use under the Illinois code,
Right,
because
okay.
I've looked that up and given advice to people before and given advice to law enforcement.
Right, okay.
So,
All right. Thank you, Joe.
okay.
You want to take your hand down, and Kathy
Okay.
has her hand up now.
All right.
Thank you. Joe, a clarification. The young offenders that you were talking about, you had said that they were truant from school, so they are below the age of 16 and therefore legally cannot drop out. Is that correct?
Say that one more time.
Okay. You were talking about young offenders, you know, like the ones who are doing the shooting. And you mentioned that they were truant from school. Does that mean that they were below the age of 16 and therefore not eligible to drop out of school?
Well, I know that it's not a matter of whether they're legally able to drop out of school. It's a matter of them just not going to school. One of them was just told not to come back to one of the schools that was outside of Jackson County. One of them was going to an alternative school. The other one of them was going to Carbondale Community High School and was actually attending classes. The other two were not enrolled in school. One was 16, one was 17. So at all, not into an alternative school or into another county. So we had, all but one, I think, had grades and was actually on track to graduate. And if you look nationally, that's just about what happens statistically with individuals that become involved in the criminal justice system. Many of them have issues in reading at a young age, with credit hours to move on to the next grade, and with high school diplomas generally.
You also said that you meet with the superintendents. What are they doing to try to keep these kids in school, if anything?
I'm sorry, can you, I lost the last part of that with my connection.
Okay, I'm sorry. What's the high school, for example, doing to keep these kids in school? Or alternately, are they making referrals to your office over truancy? I mean,
Right, so,
I guess what I'm saying is the schools have some responsibility here to do something, don't you think?
absolutely, they have a responsibility. And what I see is that we're tracking these kids usually all the way from a young age and dealing with truancy that way. And so these meetings are kind of all inclusive. We have the police, we have the state's attorney's office there, we have a number of different, the principal, the superintendent, and we're usually dealing with these individuals from a very young age. We've recently been going to the truancy review boards for these young people whenever we can get an assistant or myself out to them. Hold on one second. I'm going to try to make it so I can hear you better. Okay, so sorry. So what we're trying to do is have a comprehensive, like all inclusive, like contact with them from a very early age. And it seems like everybody's kind of on board with that. The only problem is that, I'm sorry, hold on one second.
I'm going to lean in while Joe's on another, he's preoccupied with something, maybe a phone call or maybe his family. They bring to the table so many resources and opportunities, whether it's clothing or transportation or special help in one subject area, or the home visits, reminder calls. But sometimes, despite all of that, the child just calls the bluff of the parent and says, what are you going to do about it? And I think Joe can share an experience recently with a truancy case where it was like, you can't force the kid to go. So the school district, what I've observed is they have thrown in a vast array of resources and interventions in a very positive manner, not a punitive manner. At least.
And sorry, go ahead, Joni.
He was just filling in while you were doing something else.
Yeah, I get it. Sorry, I'm traveling and got kicked out of my little spot, so that was quiet. So one of the things is that each one of the individuals that we we have a handful of them, and the reason why we have these safety panel meetings is to identify kids that are having trouble early on. The thing is, some of them are I guess redirected to other, they're guided through school. Sometimes we have some good stories that, hey, they're going to graduate, or they've been moved to alternative school and now they're doing a lot better, or they've been relocated to a different family environment. These individuals, they're kind of common names, and unfortunately, after all the kids that we talk about, there's 5 or 6 here that we've known their names, we've talked about them before. We've had a lot of communication with parents or with guardians or whatever it may be. And a lot of times by the time they get about 15, 16 years old, I made a decision to start filing truancy cases again to try to get them into court and try to problem solve a little bit. And in one of those cases, the mother, came in very distraught and said, hey, I've got 5 kids. They're in school right now. They're doing fine. Number 6 and number 7, they don't want to go and I can't make them. And I can't physically move them. They're bigger than me. They won't go to school. We don't know what to do. And so those truancy laws, with me being able to file those cases, those don't help me much because there's nothing I can do. And if I fine them for doing that, all that does is hurt the family. Like I fined them $300, that's not going to do anything because the kid's still not going to go. In some cases, the kid does, doesn't want the parent to get in trouble, but typically that's not the case. Typically, they're already in a place where they're not really respecting authority in the first place.
Okay.
Okay.
Did that answer your question, Kathy?
Yeah.
Kathy, we have DCFS and social services, the principals, the resource officer. There's typically about maybe 15 to 20 people at those meetings, including our juvenile prosecutor. And so the school is usually responsible for getting them the resources that they need, and they're reaching out to different services to in case that's the problem, that's the need. But the problem with the system right now is that DCFS doesn't really get involved with truancy like they used to. Many states have DCFS involved in truancy. DCFS is really set up to get people resources. They already know how to get resources. They're already connected with those resources. They already know how to do home visits. They know how to create safety plans. They know how to enforce safety plans. They know how to write petitions in case people are not in those safety plans. But DCFS no longer gets involved in truancy cases in Illinois. And until we change the legislation, we really are going to be in a problem with juveniles. That's my assessment of it. But we'll continue working with these kids the best we can. Right now, we're just trying to use the resources we have at the school, and then also the community organizations have really done a great job getting involved with a number of different cases that have to do with juveniles.
Thank you, Joe. Your hand's still up, Kathy. Nancy, did you have a comment? Nancy?
Yeah, it's hard to find a speaker, in the mic on the phone. But Carbondale United is involved in the high school group. These programs are scheduled to start in the high school, in the middle school, in Rebound, and in Tri-County. The school reached out to us. So we're trying some new programming in all of the schools that I just mentioned.
Okay. And that will be for this semester, or does that start in the fall?
Well, this semester is almost over. We're doing the ISS program. We had a different speakers, and if anybody on here is interested in going to the high school or the middle school, Joe just went last week to the school to speak to the students that's in school suspension. So we have that program now. We're about to start it in the middle school to the end of the school year. All the rest of the program will start next year. With Rebound is making not Rebound. Tri-County is making referrals to us now. So we just reached out to a young man who has not been attending school or anything, and he's agreed to start attending school, and the bus is gonna pick him up at our office in the morning, and he'll until that time he'll be working with a VI to try to get back on track and going to school.
Great, very good. Okay, anything else, Nancy?
No, that's all I had.
Okay, Dan, I thought I saw your hand up, but no.
Yes, I had my hand up just for a moment, and Nancy covered almost all of the bases. I just wanted to also introduce the concept that we're creating a rite of passage program for our children in the community that will follow them throughout their educational years, from elementary to the middle school and into high school. And hopefully we'll be able to start something here locally that we can take on a more national program. I'm just very excited about the partners that we're working with, the MOUs that we have, and the heart and the passion that's at the table to just get better outcomes.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for Joe? I have two questions. One is for the conference and resource fair that you mentioned. Do you need volunteers for that, or is that being coordinated through Diana?
So that's being coordinated through Diana right now.
Okay.
I'm urging my office to volunteer. I know that she's getting volunteers from my office, so she knows what she needs. She's been taking the ball on this and doing a great job. So I would push everybody to her, names, phone numbers. That's what I've been doing. And I think that we may even need one more nomination. I think she was giving out three awards for outstanding contribution to working with victims in the community. I think she has two of the three. So if anybody has an additional nomination for someone who's done that type of work, they can get that nomination to Diana as well. Okay.
Okay. And is this is not just Carbondale, Jackson County? Is it all of Southern Illinois, or what's the area?
So Diana has explained to me that she wanted to include the entire region, and so she'll be inviting people from other counties as well. So she told me Southern Illinois.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions for Joe? Okay. Oh, I did have one other question. The drum line is only for ages 10 to 14?
Well, I talked to the individual who was in that Marine Corps band, and he said to start off, he thinks that to be able to hold the drum and the bass that I have, they're kind of larger. They're not very heavy, but it's like picking up something that's awkward, even though it's not heavy. So he thinks the frame of a 10-year-old to 14-year-old would be satisfactory for that. If we have younger kids, he suggested for us to get some of those drum pads, the electronic ones, so they can start teaching them at a young age how to do drum rolls and other things like that. So that may be something that we purchase later on, or sometime soon, so that we can get younger kids involved. But as far as the drum line is concerned, we need them to be a little bit taller and a little bit wider.
Okay, but not older than 14.
I don't know where the 14 came from. I know he said they had to be at least 10. So that wasn't a discussion that we had. So
okay.
I'm sure that it's fine if they're older, but we would think that they'd be in bands somewhere, and we were trying to get an initial group so that we can get them the experience outside of music.
class so that we can get them into the high school band. I feel like once we get them in the high school band, it's all, kind of, we did our job.
Okay, Joni, you have your hand up.
Yes. Someone at our last meeting expressed concern about the location of this and thought that the campus would be an intimidating environment. Was that something that, was that you, Randy? Who brought that up at the last meeting?
Joni, that was me.
Oh, I thought
Okay.
this said Irma Hayes.
Yeah. So,
I agreed, though. I mean, the campus is intimidating to people who aren't familiar with the campus. It's just a fact.
so I don't know if there's any, maybe you could help Diana, address that barrier.
What are we talking about now? The campus for what?
The Crime Victim Week. The
Oh, I'm
conference
sorry.
resource
I was
fair.
still on Drumline. I'm sorry. Okay.
I jumped. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
There's also the community healing event on the 27th. I don't know much more about that, but I don't know if that's also held on campus. But
No.
perhaps Randy and Van, you could share some insight into reducing the anxiety of that barrier, even if it's just parking, which door to go in, what to expect when you get there.
They put signs up when there are special events, and the signs need to start like at the entrance to the university and point people. I think that I don't know exactly. Rick may know how these signs get manufactured and put out, but they try to make the campus accessible and friendly when people are, coming for like open house or that sort of thing, so that they're, signs pointing them to where to park and all of that sort of thing. I think that's probably pretty important, that if they're just staring at the entrance to the university and there's a sign that says, crime seminar, whatever we're calling it, this direction, and shows them where to park and everything. Another thing is that parking at the university and the visitor parking is also intimidating, because you have to figure out how to work this machine that is it's a hostile machine. So there are these. Well, it is. I mean, it just doesn't like humans.
Oh yeah, I gotcha. Yeah,
You know the one, yeah. So anyway, these are just they are barriers. Another thing that I think Van and I were both thinking about is that the sort of people in Carbondale that we would expect to benefit from this program are the ones least likely to go to the university and to have any experience going to the university. And so it's just something to think about.
I'm going to email Diana with Joe's overview about, she's working on event printing, the bookmarks. And I know that there are people at the Student Center who organize events. Aaron Anderson is somebody I've known since he was in Scouts. And maybe just tip her off that we're concerned about this, and to allocate some of their budget to making that transition familiar to someone who's a little apprehensive or intimidated.
I'll comment on that. I used to work in the Office of Division of Continuing Education, who planned the conferences and workshops for any group that was coming to campus. I will mention to Diana tomorrow that she needs to get with, it's called Conferences and Special Programs now. They have signs that can be put out that will point you to the Student Center. And for Student Center, usually if there's a conference or large attendance on any certain day, the parking is complimentary. They cover up the kiosks, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
How many are we expecting for this? Or is that an Ask Diana question?
I haven't got a clue.
Diana said that she's expecting around 150 people.
Okay, now parking, I'm pretty sure will be free. And I'll talk to her tomorrow about those things. And
Okay,
I'm sure there's signage that we can either borrow or create some signs to point people to the Student Center, and have someone at the doors have signs out front to direct them to the proper room. Anything else for under Joe? Nancy, your hand's up.
Okay, yes. Talking about SIU is a long way from certain parts of the city. Is there going to be some type of transportation so you can get there?
You mean as a participant?
Yeah.
Uh,
You want
the,
the whole
the
city to
buses are
participate.
available, but I doubt if the conference has budgeted money to pick for with the buses. But I don't know anything specific about it. That's something I can ask Diana about. But
Okay,
she
thank you.
have for a conference, there's not. If we're only expecting 100 to 150 people, I seriously doubt if there'll be a bus dedicated to that.
I wonder if Stan or the CPD could arrange some type of transport since it's CPD sponsored.
I'll say I doubt that, but I will ask. You know, because you're looking at different people who want to come at different times, different locations. But I don't know. I don't know what their budget looks like, but I will mention that. Joe, has she said anything to you about that?
No, I have not talked to her. I've not heard anything about transportation. It's a good point, but that wasn't in our conversation.
Okay, I'll mention that to Diana. Anything
And-
else? We want to
Anybody in terms of transportation, anybody know an Uber guy? I mean, because they have the Uber van, so maybe you can make a deal with one of the local Uber folks because they only charge like $5 sometimes to go somewhere local. So that might be a very low budget strategy.
Okay, I'll mention that
I was
to her.
just thinking.
Have fun for that. I'll mention that and just have designated pickup spots and specific times that they would do it. It wouldn't be, I'm sure, not an all day any place you want to go kind of thing. But I'll mention that to her.
I was
Anything
just mentioning it because to me that's a barrier. And one of the issues with having it at SIU instead of having it in the middle of town where you could at least get there.
You mean like at the Civic Center?
Yes, or Irma Hayes or any other large facility that would have been more easier for community people to use.
Okay, I'll mention that too, but at this point, I'm sure the contract has already been signed with the Student Center or SIU, but I don't know that to be a fact. But if it's being advertised, I'm sure the contract has been signed.
Right.
Anything else we want to mention? And that may be a possibility for future, if this is done again, to have it at either the Civic Center or at Irma Hayes. I don't know, parking wise or accommodation wise, I don't know if Irma Hayes could handle that. But again, and I don't know what the format is, if it's been breaking out into breakout rooms or exactly how it's going to be. But I'll mention that to her also.
Okay. I know. Also, just so everybody knows, I think she was planning on getting a number of individuals that are affiliated with the school and students that have gone through, some victimization and some trauma to be involved as well. And I think that she had talked about, different student groups and organizations to be involved in that. I think that's one of the things that she was focusing on. So just so you know.
Mm-hmm. So, and is this a resource fair? Do you know if how many vendors she will have in the resource fair part?
So she does have vendors scheduled already. She has tables still available. I don't know the amount or number of vendors. I know there's tables still available, and it is a resource fair. And I know she has a couple panels that are going and a couple individual presentations. So she's still looking for, I think, filling the spaces for presentations and for panelists.
Okay, good deal. Anything else on the conference?
What do you know about the community healing event aspect of this, Joe? On the 27th?
Yeah, so the only thing I know is that she's planning a get together with a number of actual victims and to come together. I know she's planning a time where it's kind of like the candle lighting part of the week. There'll be some awards presented and then some words said about remembering victims and what they've gone through and supporting victims in the community and so on and so forth. But it's kind of the ending to the week.
And is it at the Student Center as well, if you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I have a very loose agenda as far as like everything. And again, she's taking the ball on that. So I told her to tell me where to be and what to do, because she seems to just have everything in front of her right now. So.
And what she talked to me about on the 27th was it will be at the pavilion in Carbondale, and it will be part of it will be sort of like a picnic or community get together.
Have a good night.
Yeah, but I don't have any more specific details on that. Okay.
That sounds right.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, back to the agenda. If I'm looking at this correctly, the next thing is the chair's report, and I don't have a report. I will have a report next month, though, for sure, if this is on the agenda. Next would be subcommittee reports, and just looking at these, I think, well, we'll go through them. The first one, violent crime, Nancy. Nancy?
Yeah, you have to give me a minute. It take a minute to find this thing on the phone.
Oh, okay. You're looking for
I don't even have a committee. It's just me. So I don't really have a report. I mean, I can tell you about what I know that's happening in the community, but Joe kind of just went through most of that as far as violence goes.
Okay, and I think for committees, if I'm remembering the right bylaws, a person from this committee has to be on the committee or be chair of a committee. Then we can get community members to work on the committee also. So if you have people you want to recruit for that committee or for any of the committees, that's how it's supposed to operate. Is that right, Randy? You can nod.
Yes, that's
okay.
that was the basic idea. And so yeah, if you've got folks that you know who want to who would be interested in a committee, then we can build our committee structure independent of this board, as long as there's one person from this board building the committee.
Okay, very good. Okay, and next is truancy, juvenile issue. Kathy, do you have anything to report?
I don't. Obviously, I'm getting back up to speed on that. So hopefully in the near future.
Okay, and have you had any contact with Jance?
No.
Okay, can you reach out to her to see if she's still interested?
Okay.
Okay. Domestic violence, Nancy, anything?
No.
Okay. And next is drug court substance abuse. I didn't even know I was on this one, so no report. And I guess, Joe, I need to talk to you about drug court so I can have stuff to report or know when it's being held and can give some type of report. So I'll get together with you on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, next is SIUC. That's Randy and myself. Randy, do you have anything for that?
Only one thing, which is there was a story in the DE last week about this registered student organization that does music stuff. It's unfortunately that story is only in the print edition of the Daily Egyptian, so you can't find it on the online version. But there's an organization of student musicians who are sort of encouraging one another towards performance, and I'm going to contact them now, especially now that I understand how this works, to see if some of them will volunteer to teach the kids. They play all kinds of instruments. They're keyboards and bass players and drummers and whatnot. And so my intention in this coming week is to contact the president of that RSO, let them know about Ready to Play. And so in terms of doing a fundraiser for Ready to Play, I had changed sort of the idea that I wanted the kids doing Ready to Play at the fundraiser, but I now see that they're not far enough along. And so we don't quite have enough kids, and they're not quite far enough along, and so the program needs to develop. Now that doesn't mean we couldn't go back to an earlier idea for doing a fundraiser for Ready to Play.
Let's do fundraiser under unfinished business. Let's do our reports here.
Okay. So, but anyway, that was so I've moved into the mode of recruiting people to teach. And I think that the SIU students is a really good possible resource for that. And so I'm going to move on that this coming week.
Okay, sounds good. Community relations. Okay, there again. I didn't know I was on that, but okay. I'll look at the bylaws and see exactly what's supposed to be reported under that committee, and I will try to recruit some people to be on that with me. And mental health. I think Margaret has resigned from the committee, so we need someone else who may want to take over that mental health committee. Any volunteers? Okay.
I'm not on a committee yet, so if somebody wants to put me on one, yeah.
Okay. Would you want mental health, or do you want to join one of the other committees?
Well, wherever I'm needed, if somebody needs to, do the mental health.
Let's do you for mental health then.
Okay.
Okay, and while we're saying that, is there a committee that you're not assigned to that you would like to work with from the committees that have been named?
Are you talking to me?
To everybody. That was for everybody.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. If you'd like to be added to a committee, speak up now.
Carolyn, this is Erica. I wouldn't mind joining you on the Community Relations Committee.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you, Erica. Okay, anyone else?
Add me to the SIU.
Oh, great. Okay, Joe. Okay, anyone else? Okay, thank you all so much. We don't have any, or do we have any special committee reports? No, somebody needs to mute. I hear someone else talking. Okay, under unfinished business, I put fundraiser. Randy, you want to bring us up to point on where we are with the Ready to Play fundraiser?
Right. So, well, as I reported last time, I talked to Chris Harris out at Route 51, and he's willing to give us their sort of banquet room, et cetera, et cetera. And my original idea had been to recruit local musicians, but then I came up with the idea of, why don't we have the kids who are doing Ready to Play with a local musician? And what I now discover is we probably need to go back to the original idea because the Ready to Play kids aren't quite ready to do this. And
they aren't ready to play.
Yeah, they're not yeah. So contrary to the name, they're not quite ready to play. But that doesn't mean that I can't put together a fundraiser. And Chris is more than happy to accommodate us. He prefers that it be like on a weeknight, so that there won't be quite as many drunk people out in the main part of Route 51. And so. Essentially what I need to do, and I didn't do it yet because I thought about this other idea, but I just need to contact the performers. And Van, I need your help with this because you know different performers than I do. And so what we can do is we could settle on a date. A Thursday night would be ideal, Chris said. We could settle on a date to do this and then just start recruiting our musician friends to come and do, just 2 or 3 songs or something like that. It's easy to promote this on WDBX, among other places. And in terms of getting, a poster, I have a cat.
I was wondering what in the world was that? But okay,
yeah, that's what that is.
Randy. Okay, Randy, could you ask him also? I know he doesn't want to give up his weekend nights. That's probably his busiest time. But could you ask him possibly about a Saturday afternoon? I don't think we're going to get a really good turnout on a Thursday night.
Yeah, as I think about it, that's probably true. Actually, he's not worried about his business. It's just a question of people going through the main room to get to the back room, and there's lots of, and lots of noise and that sort of thing. My guess is that he would have no problem with a Saturday afternoon.
Okay.
And so if
How
we
does
want
that sound to everybody else, opposed to a Thursday night?
That sounds good to me. This is Erica. I also had a comment on that.
Okay, you can make your comment.
Randy, originally I had started to put together a similar fundraiser with Buckwater. I didn't get very far. And so I had wondered about that, if you'd be interested in reaching out to them and somehow maybe, because Thursday nights are really busy and popping at Buckwater with their musicians.
True. Well, Buckwater has the advantage of being closer and being in town, but for fundraiser, the whole idea is to get to people who have money.
Right, right.
And so I think Route 51 would be pretty good for this. I don't know if you've ever seen they're not the I'm not talking about the main room where performances happen. I'm talking about their back room, which is really
the banquet.
Yeah, and so anyway, with Buckwater, if we do it there, they only have the one stage, and it's the one that's sort of out there where the business stuff is. When I was talking to Chris, one of the things he said is this is a really good space for you to do a fundraiser, because you can do whatever you want to in this space. It has no effect on my business, and it's a nice space. It's almost as big as their main room. And they have a stage in there already, and they're set up, yeah.
Okay.
So to me, even though it's inconvenient in terms of location, remembering that who we're trying to attract out there is people with money, I don't think that inconvenience is necessarily a terrible inconvenience, especially since I've talked to him and he says we can do it free and he'll support us. So anyway,
I
don't
thought
know.
maybe we could go ahead.
Go ahead.
I thought maybe we can convince the owner of Buckwater to donate some of his proceeds to our Ready to Play. And a lot of local business owners frequent Buckwater on Thursday nights.
So it could be two different fundraisers, one at Route 51 and then do something different at Buckwater.
And I know Shady Frick had originally agreed to get Shaddy, to get he has a band and he was willing to partake in that.
I think that we could do both. Let's not do them too close together. So you and I can coordinate. I'm perfectly happy to move my idea to Buckwater if you want to try to do that, and I'll help you recruit musicians for it. I know a million musicians.
No, I like both locations. I think you have a better idea of, spreading it apart and doing, 2 locations. Because I like both locations.
Now, I don't know the people at Buckwater, whereas I do know the folks at Route 51. So if you have talked to the people at Buckwater, maybe you should talk to them again and see whether or not they'd be willing to give us a Thursday night and get back, at least with me, about the outcome of that conversation. Buckwater is certainly a lot more convenient.
Yeah, and like I said, so many of the business owners on Thursday nights are at Buckwater.
Are they?
Yeah.
And maybe what we could do at Buckwater is, do they usually have a band there on Thursday nights?
I haven't been there in a while, but yes, I have been there on Thursday nights where they have a band.
So maybe what we could do is a different type of fundraiser. If they would allow us to do maybe a silent auction or a 50-50 and then donate a certain percent of their proceeds. It's still a fundraiser, but it's less work for us.
Right.
True enough.
And then we can still do the Ready to Play that Randy's talking about with the different bands. So I would just say, if you could check with him, and I guess does everybody know how to raise their hand? let's do a consensus here. Should we do Thursday evening if it's available, or Saturday afternoon if it's available? Vote for one or the other. Who
Oh,
wants?
Out Route 51.
Yes.
I'm gonna abstain.
Who said that?
Randy.
Oh, Randy. Okay. Or we'll take whichever one they give us. Is that how we want to proceed?
I think that's the easier way.
Okay, no problem.
Right.
Okay, does anyone else want to work with Randy on the fundraising committee?
I don't know if Van still has his sound on, but
I'm here with you, Randy. Yes.
I need Van to recruit the musicians I don't know.
Okay. Anyone else want to work with that?
I would be willing to work with Randy. This is Rick.
That'd be good.
Biggest thing for me is I didn't even catch what date we're doing this fundraiser.
We don't have a date yet. We're going to check with both locations, and they're going to give us dates.
All right, and whatever the date happens, I don't even know what my schedule is next week, much less a month from now. So
yeah,
I may not be able to be at it, but I can help with planning it.
Sure. Yeah,
I do know that Chris needs notice, which is to say at least a couple of months in advance, and so we're probably into May we'd be looking at as the soonest, and he has weddings and all kinds of other things there. A Saturday afternoon might suit him though, so and if not that, maybe a Sunday afternoon. And so I will call him this week and see what kinds of dates he's got open, and essentially I'll report to Rick and Van and Erica about that. Erica, I need your email address. I have Rick's and Van's.
Mine is manager@fieldsapartments.com.
Okay, let me put that down.
Is apartment spelled out?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I'd like to work kind of with that committee, but very background.
Manager@fieldsapartments.com. All right.
Okay. Anything else on that? Yes, Joni. You're muted.
Jennifer Robertson graciously agreed to host this from 5 to 6:15, and I want to be sensitive to her time commitments.
Oh yes. Okay. We only have one other thing. Any new business. Oh wait, anything else on this? Okay. And if so, Randy, if you would just contact the committee or everybody, because some people may not want to be on the committee, but they can help with the committee, either distributing information or whatever. So just include the whole committee. Any new business? Yes, Randy. Or
yeah. So Erica's going to check on Buckwater, and I'll do Route 51. We'll put our heads together and figure out what dates and put that in front of everybody.
Yeah, so everybody can get it on their calendar and hopefully start telling their friends. And the committee then needs to meet too and determine how much are we going to sell tickets or exactly what we're going to do for the help with the fundraising. Okay. Any new business? Okay. If there's no new business, we do need to talk about our next meeting. So Jennifer, we should be done in less than 5 minutes here. Okay. Can you look at your calendars? The next meeting is scheduled for the 18th, and that's not good for Joe. So the proposal is the following Thursday, which is the 25th of April. Can you do a raise hands if that works for you? Joe and Kathy and Rick and Debbie. That doesn't work for you?
No, 25th is okay for me.
It's what?
Okay for Debbie.
Okay.
I'll be traveling. I'll be traveling April 25th.
Okay, can you zoom it in? Or no?
This
I mean, it's possible.
You
But
know, if you're not here, we assign you a lot of stuff to do. You know that, right?
yeah. No, that's fine.
I'm
I mean,
just
but
kidding.
yeah, I'm gonna. It's possible, but I'm probably gonna be in between airports or
Sure,
on
no
a plane.
problem. Okay, that means we need to pick a different date. I only saw 3 yeses. So
no,
Tony,
no,
we need, what did I say, 6
Did
people?
Rick say?
Rick,
yeah, this is Rick. I can do the 25th.
okay, we need 6 to have a quorum. So, Joni, did Joe give you any of the tentative dates?
We didn't go to a second and third choice.
Okay, if you could get
I
other
don't know
choices
what
from
Wednesdays are like. Are Wednesdays busy for people? What about the 24th?
Wednesdays work great for me, usually.
24th?
I have
So
4
yeah,
o'clock.
just so anything from 24th, 23rd, 24th, 25th is basically I'm not gonna be
Not
that
available.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm not gonna be available. For
Okay.
sure.
Other than Joe, oh wait, let me just change that. Who worked during the day? Could we meet earlier in the day? Like, could we meet in early afternoon?
I work during the day, but I can always take off if I need to.
Okay, does that work for everybody else? If we did it on the 25th, but did it earlier in the day, would that work for people?
Works for me.
Works for me.
Joni, how would that work for Joe?
I think he could make it work.
Okay, if we did, like, I'm gonna say 2 o'clock, but if that's not good for everybody, throw out another time.
Oh, when you say during the day, you mean before 4?
2 o'clock, 2 p.m.
Well, he's got a homicide trial booked to start that trial week of the 22nd. So it could possibly be that he's in court, or not at all, because the thing could come off.
Okay, so since we had said the 25th, okay, let's just look at a different date. Could we do the 20? Oh, Joe, but Joe, court ends at what, 4:30 or 5 o'clock?
Well, on a typical day, 4:30, but sometimes the judge will extend it to just finish up a witness so they can get back on the road.
Okay.
So there is no usual.
Okay.
So
what about
on Monday, they usually show them the movie, get them settled, pick a jury. So of that week, probably Monday. Yeah, but then he's usually prepping witnesses that came in from out of town. So
and Monday is that workshop.
That's right.
Yeah. What about the following week? Could we do the week of the 29th?
Works for me.
We look for people. Could we do that Monday, the 29th? Oh, wait.
Yes.
Oh, we're looking at April 29th. Does that work for everybody? If it doesn't work for you, put your hand up. We'll do it that way.
April 29th works for me.
Okay, I heard you, Rick. If it does not work for you, put your hand up on April 29th, and we could meet at 6 o'clock or 5. What time do we meet? 4 o'clock.
So disregard Rick's hand. Debbie's the only one that couldn't meet.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, Debbie, what time could you meet that? Is it the time or is it the date?
It's the date.
Okay, so everybody else can meet?
Would that be less of a quorum though?
Yeah, we
It's
have
just
a
me?
quorum because everybody else can meet except you.
Okay,
so
all right.
the
I'll read the
29th.
notes.
Okay, what time did we start today?
5.
So the 29th at 5 o'clock, does that work for everybody or do we need to change the time?
I need to check with Jennifer Robertson if she's going to be the host.
Sorry, that works for us. Yep, we're fine.
Thank you,
Okay.
Jennifer. You're
Yes,
amazing.
no problem.
Thank you, Jennifer, and we'll be more aware of our time the next time.
Okay.
Yes, it's fine. I mean, if I can't do it, I can get somebody else to do it.
Okay, well, can you do us for 2 hours?
Yes.
That way, if we won't use 2 hours, but that way we'll have the time if we need it.
Yes, no problem. I'll schedule you in for 2 hours.
Okay, so it's April 29th at 5 o'clock. And we'll get the Zoom link. Okay. If we
And-
need to communicate in between that, everybody should have everybody's email address. So please do the emails or texts. Texts are good also. Okay.
And if you have items to put on the agenda, probably email them to me, carbon copy Joe, or the other way around.
Yeah.
So I'll be
And
getting that agenda ready a couple days before the meeting at the very latest.
And what speeds the meeting also is if you know you have a report, type it out and send it to her so she can send it with the agenda. That way we can read it in advance and have our questions ready. They don't have to go through everything in the meeting.
Right.
Okay, very good. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Jennifer. We appreciate your patience with us.
No problem. Thank you all for doing this.
Okay,
Thank
good night, everyone. Good night,
Take care,
everyone.
Harvey.
everybody.
Thank you.